Hi guys, my name is Dr. Jamal, and today we're going to be talking about the big milestone, which is we have 100,000 Americans that have died because of the COVID-19 disease. And it has been almost 4 months now since the COVID-19 outbreak. But today we have reached a big and significant milestone as we've lost about 100,000 people. And here is the front page of the Huffington Post, and they're calling this a carnage. And here is also the front page of the New York Times, where they compared this 100,000 deaths to previous pandemics like the 1918 flu pandemic, which has claimed the lives of more than 500,000 people. And here's a graph that shows the number of people that are infected by this virus, the number of deaths, and also people who have made complete recovery. For the first part of the graph here, it shows around 1.7 million Americans that are currently infected by this virus. Globally, we have around 6 million people that are infected by the virus. Also in the USA, we have around 100,000 people that are infected, that have died as a result of this virus. Globally, around 350,000 people have died from the virus. In terms of recovery, around 400,000 people have made successful recovery in the US. Globally, around 2.3 million people have made successful recovery. Here is also another graph that I got from the Johns Hopkins website. It just shows that the virus is still showing a significant increase, meaning we have not yet reached the first peak of the first wave, meaning the people who are infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus is still on the rise. Interestingly, if you look at this graph here, this is the end of March, I believe, and we have around 500,000 people that are infected by the virus. And here is the end of almost, today is May 27th, and we have 6 million people. Just in the span of 2 months, there has been a significant increase in terms of the number of people that are infected globally. Here's also another graph that is showing the daily number of cases. So as you can see from this is the last portion of the graph here, we're still seeing around 100,000 people that are infected with this virus on a daily basis, meaning we have not reached the first peak yet. Maybe in the next few weeks or months, we should be able to see if we will reach the peak for the first wave. As the rules are relaxed, and also a more important question is, could we see a surge in the number of cases? And the answer is yes. The evidence for this comes from our experience with previous pandemics. Usually when you get first wave, you're likely to see also the second wave, depending on how people respond to the pandemic and whether they follow rules, meaning government policies, for example, things like social distancing. So from this graph, the green graph shows the first wave, and we are to the point where we're kind of getting close to the peak here, but we haven't reached the peak yet, although some countries have been claiming that they have already reached this first peak. So once we reach the peak, we're going to see a downtrending of this graph here, and we will see a significant decrease in the number of people that are infected on a daily basis. The blue graph shows the second wave, or potentially what a second wave will look like. It's usually worse than the first wave, there's also a possibility that we might not see a second wave, depending on how we respond to changes in policies as far as opening up of the states, cities, and counties. And the bigger issue is also there are differences in terms of how these policies are enacted at a county, city, and state level, and that could end up uh, worsening the situation. Meaning, if a state is successful in controlling the virus, you could have a spillover effect, which is the virus will come from, for example, like a neighboring state, and the pandemic or the epidemic will re-emerge as a new phenomenon. And that's why it's so important to prepare ourselves for the worst case scenario. And since we could definitely see a rebound or resurgence of the virus, even after we declare a victory against this virus. In terms of my final thoughts here, still continue to do social distancing, continue to wash your hands, continue to use face masks, especially when you go out to the store or whenever you leave your house. I would highly recommend to use a face mask, and also avoid crowded places. For more detailed information, please watch my other videos if you're interested in learning more about how to protect yourself from this virus. Thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe, and please feel free to leave me a comment, and I'll be happy to respond to your questions.